Hi everyone, my name is Ofir. I'm the founder and the director of R&D of Personally. We are a machine learning based DSP, and today we're going to speak about how programmatic and gaming are working together. What are the benefits for gaming publishers for using programmatic, and how you can choose a DSP wisely. Few DSPs, one DSP, doesn't matter. But for that, we'll start from the fairy tale of the walled gardens, which is here. So most of you guys probably using what we call the walled gardens, paid social, whether it's Google, Facebook, Snap, TikTok, it doesn't matter. But they still have some issues. And yeah, and we'll just go over them really quick. So you have really strong competition on paying users. So it's not that hard, and if you want to scale a campaign that is ROAS driven, it will be pretty expensive. It's pretty much a black box, so you don't get the transparency that you want to get. You can't really apply learnings from one platform to a different platform. And dependency in one source is never a good thing. Your reach is also limited because like people, not all the people are sitting in social channels. There are audience that is not there. So the best solution, and that's what most gaming publishers are doing these days, they diversify. They try different traffic types, different sources that can still get them to the ROAS goals without the dependency in paid social. And today we're going to speak about RTB, and I'm going to explain it in a more technical way. So, because there's a lot of misunderstanding about how programmatic DSPs are operating and what we do exactly. So we'll go through a journey of an ad request from the start to the end. So basically, everything is starting on the user device. It can be either from an OEM like Xiaomi, Samsung, or SDK network like AppLovin, ironSource, Tapjoy, and so on. Then the DSP will get the bid request with some basic information about the user, like it's the device ID, if it's in Android, what kind of device you have, and so on. And then the DSP will start what is called data enrichment. Data enrichment is what allows us to bid precisely and understand if the user is going to install, if he's going to purchase, and how much we should pay for the user. So after we go through the data enrichment, there is the stage of the machine learning, where most of the DSPs will employ 4 predictions. The first prediction will be predicting the click, then they will try to predict the install, then we'll go for the deep funnel event, and after that, we will try to calculate the price, which is extremely important. I will explain why. After that, all the data that gathered during that process is going into raw data storage. And from that point, we and other DSPs are employing daily training in order to fine-tune the models. And we also rely, of course, on the data that is coming from the MMP, like install and what's happening after the installation. Okay, so in order to all of those things should happen within 100 milliseconds. So all the 4 predictions, which are click, install, deep funnel event prediction, and market price prediction should happen within 100 milliseconds. Otherwise, you're just out of the auction. Now, I want to talk more about the market price prediction. So until like 2 years ago, the market worked in a second price auction. It means that even if you bid 100, then you will pay the second bid. If your competitor bid 10, then you will pay 10 and 1 cent. These days, all of the supply sources are working in first price auction mode. It means that if you paid 100, it doesn't matter about the competition, you will still pay 100. And that's a big risk for overpaying. So it's important that the DSP that you work with will employ that market price prediction and will try to pay the exact price that the DSP expects the user to be worth, and not more than that, because otherwise you will just lose money. So after those predictions, we have the bid stage. that goes to the exchange, and if the DSP is winning the bid, then the ad render on the device, and then we expect the user to install and also perform a purchase. Okay, so gaming and programmatic, why it's such a good match? So basically, because of all the data points that we will show you later, we can predict pretty precisely what's going to happen. And why is that? Because we know who is the user, we know what kind of genres he likes, we know what is the retention in each genre, we know what is the best timing to show him an ad. If it's in beginning of a session, because we know this user tend to have like very short sessions, or after a very long session, because we know that now we have time. So everything is based on his past behavior. Another thing we have was, of course, and this is more relevant nowadays to iOS, because we don't have the user device graph in iOS, because we don't have device ID anymore. So app context is playing a really big role in our predictions for iOS, and we love scan too. So app context tells us a lot about the user, where he is right now, what category it is, and I can tell you that you should not rely on store categories, because most of them are just done for ASO purposes, and most of them are not right. The DSP should classify the categories by itself, to be more precise. And after we have all of those, we can actually bid the right amount that based on the predicted LTV and not 1 cent more. And that allows us to basically be a good fit for gaming, us and other DSPs, of course, to be a good fit for gaming, because we can actually hit the ROAS goals, which is pretty complex. Okay, so those are like more like inside information for you guys. So those features are actually being fed to the models, and those, for us at least, they're very good ROAS predictors for gaming. So I think the best thing is the age and gender prediction. As you all know, most of the players for social casino and social games are females ages 35 plus. So knowing that in advance before we bid, it's a huge advantage. The location of the user, especially if we classify the US for Midwest and other areas, it's really helpful. Users in the Midwest are less likely to purchase by 2%, by the way. Category retention, also extremely helpful. Users that tend to retain, their chances to pay are much higher. Users that jump between applications every day, they will not pay, okay? Most of the chances that they will not pay. Usage hours, we can learn a lot from the usage hours about the age and the status of the person. If we see that a device is like playing the whole day, so it can mean that this is like someone without, I don't know, without work, or maybe younger. When we see like a lot of usage hours, it's usually non-payers. Session depth also, different users have different behaviors. I mean, users that saw a lot of ads recently, those are not good for us, usually. If they're interested in similar games, you will be surprised, but I can tell you that if a user is sticky with the casino games and have like more than 5 casino games on his device, he will most likely not going to pay. So we need to be sure that we're the second game he is installing or something like that, because if he have a lot of casino games, he's just using the free chips and then move on to the next game. Another thing that is really helpful to understand the possibility of becoming a payer is the device features. We get the device from the request, and then we enrich it to have all the device properties, like how many RAM the device have, pixel per inch, what's the screen size, and what was the listing price of the device, how much the user paid for the device. Next slide is about how programmatic campaigns should be structured. So basically, this is the case study we had with Ubisoft, where essentially you start for the exploration period and you try to get an installation model. After that you can fine-tune the eCPI, you go for a deep funnel event that is not purchase, something in between, something that will show loyalty. You can do it by levels, you can do it by different event, And ultimately, that you go to the second deep funnel element will be, which will be the purchase. And the whole process takes around 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so this is the interesting part for you guys. DSP practical tips, how to choose a DSP partner, and we'll go over them. Due diligence, I can tell you that this morning I learned that I have 20 more competitors, new, that I need to know about. They are all DSPs, programmatic, never heard of them. So please do your due diligence. Building a DSP is something that costs a lot because of the server cost, the machine learning and maintaining all of that. DSPs cannot really pop up in 1 month, okay? So do your due diligence and make sure that you're actually buying programmatic traffic. Mutual trust, that's for data sharing. Data sharing is extremely important for programmatic. That's how we create the lookalike audiences. That's how we, that's the cold start for the models. That's where we start from. That's how we understand how a pair look like in your app. So being able to share the data and build the trust is important. So please sign NDAs. Make sure that your data is siloed and not used for your competitors. We saw those things happening. Yeah, about goals and KPIs, you need to be very explicit and very clear about your KPIs and how the revenue is coming. If it's IAP, IAA, mix of them, what's the percentage, what's the ratio between them. It's extremely important for your DSP partner to understand how to take you to the success. Yeah, patience. So that's something really interesting because that's something that if you work with programmatic partners, it takes time to establish the robust model for installation and for purchase. So you have to be patient and to understand that you will need to see the trend, the weekly trends until you get to your ROAS KPI. The last thing, which is really important, know your margin, especially for retargeting. In sake of transparency, I think that's something that should be mentioned when you sign a DSP. They should be very clear with the margin they take. And yeah. Questions? We have 1 minute, I think.
Who's got a question? In addition to Ofir, the other personally people, can you stand up with your beautiful t-shirts? Here's one. That's a great t-shirt. Excellent. There's a t-shirt. Nicely done. Well done. Okay. Yes, question. And stand up and your name and your company.
Hi, my name's Carl. I work at JustPlay. We're an app developer. One question. On age and gender, outside of the major, outside of Facebook and Google, do you obtain age and gender, and how do you get age and gender?
We predict it based on behavior. Yeah.
Based on behavior. Okay, but it's not there's not the exchanges doesn't pass it back.
It's not deterministic. We predict it. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Cool.
Okay, I predict there's going to be a lot more questions, but let's do them in the hallway. So if you see a cool personally t-shirt, they're going to be in the hallway waiting for you for your questions. Well done. Thank you, Ofir Pasternak.
Thank you.